What's up, y'all?
You didn't do the video, but that's okay. We're 1 for 2.
Yeah, I cannot find it.
That's fine. Yeah. Hey, we're Joe-less again.
Yeah.
We lost our Joe. He'll be back on Wednesday when we're doing.
So we think.
Yeah, that's fair. He'll be back.
He's not very happy because I said Tennessee would win. So we still got to hash that out. Whenever he comes back, I don't care if it's a year from now, we will be hashing that out.
Yeah. Full transparency, I mute the group chat at this point when Bama games are on because I just can't.
Oh, yeah. It's been muted for months because either y'all spoil something for me or we get to arguing and I don't want to deal with it. So, yeah.
That too. Like, I have so many tweet notifications on, like the game-winning field goal attempt. I like covered my phone in like a blanket so I couldn't hear it go off one way or another because I wanted to watch it. Because I have YouTube TV, which is great, right? But it lags behind people that are actually...
Yeah, that was not a fun weekend, but NFL's been fun. Tyler, I've got a hot take for you.
Okay, hit me.
So you remember back during the Brady days in New England, like I think it's safe to say, like the Patriots were the baby in the NFL. Like they got the refs on their side, everybody was on their side, no matter what. Like everybody but the fans. Are the Chiefs the new Patriots in the NFL? Where just like everything seems to magically bounce their way?
I think for a while it was the Packers, and I say that I mean a little biased, but like the roughing the passer rule as it is in the NFL right now is because of Aaron Rodgers. And I remember it was a notorious thing for years where like you could count on like a clutch pass interference call go their way or anything like that.
We saw that against the Vikings a couple of years ago.
Oh yeah, no, I'm well aware. Like I just the most distinct one I can think of is like there was a touchdown in Green Bay like 4 years ago, and it was the Stephon Diggs days. He got a touchdown. He took off his helmet to celebrate. We got a flag, and then later, like the next drive, Green Bay got an interception or like a sack or something. The guy took off his helmet and nope, completely fine. It was like okay, but I mean, the NFL is gonna want to protect its flashy quarterbacks, right?
Yeah.
And I think that, well, hold on, let me rephrase that. The NFL was going to want to protect its flashy throwing quarterbacks because it seems like if you're a mobile quarterback, you get a lot less protection. Like you saw it with Cam Newton back in the day, where the guy was like one of the faces of the NFL, but he got almost no calls because he was a big guy and would run a lot.
Yeah, and I'm sitting here like I'm got the Monday Night Football game. I mean, look at the hit that hurt Justin Herbert. No call. That probably should have been called. Your mobile, your RPO guys don't get the calls unless you're Patrick Mahomes, which, it's Patrick Mahomes is a very good quarterback. I mean, it seems like the best quarterbacks seem to get the best protection. Anyway, was a good week of NFL football. Thursday night football. Can we abolish Thursday night football at this point?
Yeah, it's just I understand they want to do it on like days where there's nothing going on, get more views or whatever, but all it does is lead to bad injuries, and it's always a worse product on the field too because the teams just don't have a full week to prepare. So it's always like a lot more conservative game plans and not as like exciting. Like when's the last real exciting Thursday night football game you've seen? This year there was like a 9-quarter stretch of no touchdowns scored on Thursday night football.
Yep.
So
it's crazy. It's just like it's ridiculous.
Yeah. But also, even going into the season, who thought Commanders-Bears was a good Thursday night football matchup? Like, I understand every team's the Thursday game, but
I think it's the same rule where every team has to have it. Tyler, really quick, before we go into anything other games, who do you have in this game tonight? Chargers, Broncos?
It's going to be to my detriment. But I still think the Broncos can salvage and be a semi-decent team. I'm going to pick the Broncos just because I think that I say it every week. Division games are weird. Monday night games are weird. And I feel like Russell Wilson is not as washed as everyone's saying he is. Mm-hmm. I think that he still has enough in the tank to will out a win against the Chargers. So I'm picking the Broncos.
Interesting. You know who is washed this year? And you agreed with me yesterday, and I firmly believe this. Aaron Rodgers. Mm-hmm. Like
he's been bad.
Packers losing to the Jets 27-10. The Jets are a good team. I will say I said it a few weeks ago when they get Zach Wilson back. The Jets are a good team. But the Packers, like, what has happened to the Packers?
You can blame not having your receivers, and I understand how big of the detriment that is. And like, for anyone that's unaware, Aaron Rodgers is the only player picked in the first round that he ever threw a touchdown pass to was Mercedes Lewis. Every other player he's ever thrown a touchdown pass to was not picked in the first round. So he's historically not had any weapons. He's made do, right? Like, Devontae Adams developed into a really good player. I think that the biggest thing, and I said it with the Nathaniel Hackett hiring too, is it's easy to look good when you have Devontae Adams, who is just always open and catches everything, right? And I kind of think it's the same with Aaron Rodgers now. It's easy to look good, but if you watch last year, the offense was a lot of Aaron Jones and the offensive line pushing Aaron Jones for like 7+ yards a play, and Devontae Adams being 5 yards open no matter what route he ran. Like,
yeah.
And it's easy to look good then. I think that Aaron Rodgers doesn't have that same, I don't want to say killer mentality that he had in the past, but I know he's always been kind of conservative for a quarterback. And like, trust me, my girlfriend's a Packers fan. I've heard about it for years now that like he's too conservative sometimes when it matters. But I think even more so, like, he just doesn't really, he takes a couple shots a game, but he's so scared, I think, of throwing an interception at this point that he'll often just like throw a check down for 1 yard, then try to throw it downfield.
I think I've seen some Packers fans on Twitter say it. Let's say it well. Like, sometimes he just has a game. He just doesn't give up. You know what? Like, and I think that's like it's every game this year. He just doesn't like. And I've heard Brim Ortiz retiring after the year, and that would not surprise me at this rate. But like, I think Green Bay. I mean, I you had to bring him back, and I don't think there was. There's nowhere else they could have gone by not bringing him back. But I mean, come on, he is like he's the MVP. He's not the MVP we're used to seeing anymore.
Right. And like, I don't know. I think he should have retired after last year. I thought he was going to retire after last year. As crazy as it would have been, it seemed like he really didn't want to come back to play football, in my opinion. But he got a lot of money too. So,
but at the same time, I feel like like he's great. I'm not saying he's not a great quarterback, but I mean, you guys like Mahomes they're good no matter who they have. Like, you could give Patrick Mahomes a team of scrubs, and he's going to be elite. But same with Brady.
But Mahomes, his whole career, has had Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, I will say.
True.
And I mean, now he doesn't have Tyreek Hill, but he got, Juju Smith-Schuster. He has Mecole Hardman stepping up. He has Marquez Valdes-Scantling. They even drafted Sky Moore in the second round. So none of them are Tyreek Hill level. Don't get me. I would never say that. Tyreek Hill is a monster and like a top 3 receiver in the league. But I think he's had weapons, and having maybe the best tight end ever when it's all said and done is a pretty big help. So
is Matt LaFleur to blame?
What'd you say?
Is Matt LaFleur to blame? I've never been a fan of Matt LaFleur.
I think he's been overrated since he got there. Like, he set a bunch of records for most wins in the first couple of years, but it's so rare. In fact, it almost never happens that you have a coach get fired on a team with so much talent, right? So he got to walk into a team with a top 3 quarterback of all time, a top 2 receiver in the league, a top 10 running back, a top maybe 1 offensive line, like, and then the defense has also had a bunch of young players. So like, I don't want to dismiss everything he's done, and still you got to win the games, right? And that's impressive. But I do think that he was definitely getting a little bit of a boost by the fact that he inherited an amazing team.
I agree. So going on to another team that I've kind of watched closely this year, it seems like the Super Bowl runner-up always has some type of hangover. Yeah. The Bengals struggle, but get by the very beat-up Saints. What are your thoughts on the Bengals and how they're doing right now? Can they win the NFC North? That seems like, Lamar Jackson, they've won 3 leads. Yeah. What is your thoughts on that?
I can promise you they will not win the NFC North. They might win the AFC North, but the Saints got Alvin Kamara back. He hasn't played since week 2 or 3, right? He's been hurt for a while, and the Saints are super banged up. I mean, they're on Andy Dalton's their quarterback. Mike Thomas was hurt, so the fact that they struggled is a little concerning, and I think that I've been saying for a while that I think that people are giving Joe Burrow a little bit more hype than he deserves. I don't think he. I almost said that in a really stupid way. I think he can get there, but I do not think he's like a top 5 quarterback like everyone was saying after one season of him being good.
I agree, but
And
that's how I feel about Justin Herbert, like, and Lamar Jackson. Like Lamar, yeah, I mean Lamar to me. I mean, I agree with what you said, but like Lamar, kind of saying that AFC North or AFC North, Lamar loses his. This everybody talks about him being top 5, but stupid plays like yesterday, but basically throwing the game away, that makes him not top 5 in my opinion.
Yeah, and like even some, I mean, I was gonna say some teammates, most notably like Marlon Humphrey, have been openly kind of complaining about it too. Like I don't know if you saw it, just popped on my Twitter feed, but after the game he tweeted like madness or insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, kind of alluding to putting the game in Lamar Jackson's hands and letting him try to throw to win the game.
Yep.
And
Giants,
that's not a good sign. One other player I did want to talk about too, going back to the Bengals real quick, is it's kind of crazy to me, and I guess this isn't the best game to say it after because he had maybe his best game of the year, but it's kind of crazy to me how quickly the league adapted to Jamar Chase.
Yes.
He looked unstoppable year one, and now I mean, it might be different, but he wasn't even top 10 in receiving yards coming into this week. He had 132 and 2 touchdowns. Like I said, it's not a great game to say that right after, but don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say that he's awful. He was record-setting rookie, and it's kind of crazy how fast the league adapted to him. And also, I do want to give a quick plug for Justin Jefferson for consistently being up there no matter how the league is adapted to him. I mean, he was leading the league in yards before Tyreek Hill, I think, took the lead this week. But
yeah, I mean, at the same time, Zach Taylor's play calling has been it's not been as good as what it was last year, and the teams are kind of adjusting to him and learning his system very well. But I think that's kind of common for your Super Bowl contenders. They seem to, or your Super Bowl runner-ups, they always seem to fall off for a year at least. I mean, not unless you were the Chiefs, you fell off. I mean, you saw the 49ers kind of fall off before making it back to the NFC Championship last year. It kind of seems like a normal thing.
Well, the Rams as well, the Super Bowl winners, have struggled mightily this year. They're 3-3 and haven't looked great in many of their wins. Like,
no, they haven't.
I mean, they almost lost to the Falcons. The Bills blew them out. And I don't know what happened. I think the biggest thing is that Matt Stafford has always been a turnover machine, but this year he hasn't been. Last year they were able to just give the ball to Cooper Kupp and let him win. Defenses have finally adapted to, okay, we'll let you do that, but we're not going to let anyone else beat us. And Cooper Kupp is amazing, but one player can't win a football game, for his team.
I agree. I totally agree. Speaking of the Bucks fell to the Steelers yesterday. What has happened? It seems like what has happened to the old school quarterbacks? Like, what is happening right now?
I'm gonna probably bite my words because I feel like this has been said for about 15 years at this point about Tom Brady, but Father Time. I hate to say it, right? It's such a lazy take because people have been saying it for so long, but he's 45 now? He retired in the offseason, came back out of retirement to play football again. I think that it's just getting to a point where he is, not the best quarterback in the world. He's still a very serviceable quarterback. Let me say that. He's still doing great, and for 45 years old, he's doing incredible, but he's not the Tom Brady we're used to. And I like I said, while saying this, I feel like I'm a talking head on like a ESPN show in 2010, right? I feel like this exact thing was said 10 years ago. But
yeah, I agree. But at the same time, I feel like part of the problems for Tampa is the fact Todd Bowles was very questionable hire for them, for a guy who get it, it's his Jets, but the guy has not really done much as a head coach, and then you go and hire him over Byron Leftwich. was an interesting hire. I'm not sure if he's a very good offensive guy like Bruce Arians was. So kind of an interesting head coaching hire, but at the same time, it's Tom Brady. Tom Brady, if anybody knows how to audible and change things up, it's Tom Brady. I think, the whole retirement thing and then him coming back, I think there was a reason he wanted to retire. I think he's ready. I think this is it for him. I don't know. Well, he's not shown that needs another. I just don't feel like he's got that zip he used to have at all.
Yeah.
We may be wrong. He may make the Super Bowl and win the whole thing. It's not looking like it. But, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I will say, too, it's early in the season, right? We like to talk about all this stuff happening. It's only it's going to be week 7. Mm-hmm. But, there's 17 games now every team plays, so they're less than halfway through. Plenty can happen. It kind of reminds me of the Aaron Rodgers, relax press conference. They'll go down one of the most famous football press conferences of all time, where he's just like, relax, we got this. And then they went on and made a deep playoff run. But I think it was a bad look, and I know it's been beat to death as well over social media, but I think it was a bad look when Tom Brady was yelling at his offensive lineman.
I agree.
When he spent, he was out seen partying Friday night. He was at a wedding the day before the game and flew himself to the game. I don't think you can yell at your team. Leadership comes from the quarterback position on the offense, and the fact that he's out there not with the team, not trying to do anything with them.
I don't think he's ever been a good leader. I don't think that's ever been one of his skills. I think it's the same with Aaron Rodgers. I don't think it's been leadership or one of their skills. They're me guys. I think that's the thing with the most of your quarterbacks. They're me guys.
I would completely disagree with Brady. I think he's been a great leader, and You see Antonio Brown, for example, was semi under control while playing for the Patriots because he had Brady keeping him in check. He was semi under control when he went to play for the Bucs because of Tom Brady. I think that Tom Brady has been historically a good leader, and I think that you have to be a good leader in order to win 6 Super Bowls. But I do agree with Aaron Rodgers. I think that he has kind of always rubbed me as someone that he's out there, he's really good at throwing the football. But just his expressions, his mannerism, it doesn't seem like he's as supportive of his teammates as he could have been.
I wish Bama had gotten the refs that are in this Chargers-Broncos game. We're not going to call pass interference when you literally run over the receiver, but wish we could have had those refs on Saturday. But anyway, another thing that do what?
Oh, I was just going to say one of my favorite tweets from any game this year was the Buccaneers and Packers game. And someone said, loser has to call their family.
Oh, my gosh. That's a good one. Another thing that really caught my eye, because it's a team that I'm kind of watching closely because I thought they would be a lot better. Cardinals lose to the Seahawks 19-9. What has happened to Cliff Kingsbury's offense?
I think that even last year, too, Cliff Kingsbury was kind of disappointing as a play caller. And I remember following it because people were, very high on him his first year. He drafted Kyler Murray. It was young and exciting. And then he kind of got predictable. And I will say, I expect him to get better. D-Hop's back this week. They just traded for Robbie Anderson, so hopefully their offensive woes won't. But Kyler Murray as well has not really impressed me that much this year. He had that one... Was it 2 seasons ago? He was MVP front runner for a while, and then kind of fell off after the Cowboys game. But since then he's just kind of been. 220 yards and 1 interception, no touchdowns. That's kind of pedestrian for a quarterback that's supposed to be top quarterback that they just extended coming into the year. I
agree. I totally agree. I'm not sure if it's a Kyler Murray problem or a Cliff Kingsbury play calling problem. But they've got the receivers to be good. Obviously, they let Cody Kirk. They let Christian Kirk go, which I think was a mistake.
He's been really good in Jacksonville. Actually, people make fun of the contract, but he's been a legitimate wide receiver 1.
Yeah, exactly. I think they're. They still have DeAndre Hopkins, but when he doesn't play, when he's not in the lineup, they're not very good. And it seems like it's the most you see with Kyler. It's Kyler running around for his life. Running 50 yards behind the line of scrimmage and then finally making a play. And if he can't do that, it seems like they're just not winning.
It's kind of like Bryce Young.
No Bama's offensive line has actually been good. It's just receivers are an issue for Arizona. I don't know if Kyler or if Kingsbury survives this season if they can't get it together.
I think if they miss the playoffs, there's a chance he's gone for sure. Also, just like looking at from the stats from the game, their leading rusher, 10 carries for 100 yards, Kyler Murray. Their next highest rusher, 15 carries, 37 yards, and then 3 carries, 7 yards. So they had
to cut it.
They could not run the ball. And then also on the other side, I do want to talk about the Seahawks. I mean, they're overachieving in my mind. Yeah. I still think they're overachieving. I don't think they're a 500 team. I think they're going to end with a losing record.
I agree.
I'll say probably 6 or 7 wins. But
I agree.
Geno Smith, I mean, he had a fine game. He didn't do anything spectacular. Kenneth Walker has been a great pick, though, out of Michigan State.
Yes.
Yeah. Honestly, rookie running backs as a whole, I've been surprised with. Kenneth Walker and Breece Hall as well for the Jets.
I totally agree. A team, this is like the most surprising team to me this year, especially what we saw last year, the Giants. They're 5-1 under Brian Dable. A little bias for him because, Roll Tide, but the Giants are 5-1. Like, are the Giants? The NFC East, like, all three of us sat on here and said that the NFC East will be the weakest division.
Right.
The NFC East is by far the strongest division right now.
Right. 6-0, 4-2, 5-1, top 3 teams.
I mean, the Eagles and the Giants being two of the best teams in the NFL. Like, if you had told me the 3 best teams would be the Eagles, Giants, and Vikings, I would have thought you were crazy. Like, Vikings, Kevin O'Connell doesn't surprise me as much, but like Eagles and Giants, like, what about the Giants? Are they legit?
Yeah. So I think we should go through and talk about those 3 teams. We can start with the Giants. I think that, I don't know. Daniel Jones he's been such an enigma this year, right? Because he hasn't been playing well enough, I think, for them to lock him up as the future, but also he just keeps winning, right? He had 170 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's not franchise quarterback, but they won 24-20. So like, you can't really complain about the results, right?
No.
And I mean, Saquon as well has been having a much better year than he has in the past.
Because he's staying healthy.
Right. I think it's interesting, too, that amidst all this winning, 2 of their expected top receivers most likely won't play with the team again. Like, both Kadarius Toney and Kenny Golladay have been just absolutely invisible. Like, Kenny Golladay got in for 1 snap, I believe, in their last game or the game before. And Kadarius Toney's been hurt, can't see the field. Now they're shopping him.
And now you already lost Sterling Shepard.
Yeah, and so I will say the fact that Daniel Jones is doing this with, I mean, Daniel Bellinger was his leading receiver. Wan'Dale Robinson, okay, he was a pretty high pick out of Kentucky. I think he was, a 2nd-round pick this year. But then other than that, it's like Marcus Johnson, Richie James, Darius Slayton's good, but it's impressive to me that what they've been doing with their potential 2 best pass catchers not even playing.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, but at the same time, like, we've seen firsthand the job that Brian Dable can do developing players, especially on offense. He developed. I feel like he had a lot to do with both Jalen Hurts and Tua's development. I think Brian Dable is just a really good head coach. Sometimes you just have these teams that, coaching can lead them, but coaching can only lead them so far. I don't think the Giants are a playoff. Well, I don't think anybody's a playoff lock at this point, unless you're like the Eagles or the Chiefs or whatever. I think the Giants are going to be that team that falls off fairly hard. But, I mean, at the same time, like, the future looks bright for them.
Yeah.
I mean,
and I thought this was going to be the week that would happen, too. And the Ravens were leading most of the game, and then the Giants just finished stronger and ended up winning. I will say, too, the Giants had one of my 2 favorite drafts this year out of any team. Both New York teams, actually, were tied for my favorite draft because the Giants got Evan Neal from Alabama, left tackle, and they got Kayvon Thibodeau out of Oregon, who was potential number 1 pick before injuries.
Yeah, I'm impressed with him. Like, it seems like, I don't know what it is. A hot take. Not so much about hot take. I feel like the whole Mario Cristobal era in Oregon was not very good. Everybody touts about to be such a great coach, but you look at guys like, Herbert was supposed to be a top pick. Well, he was a pretty good high pick. Kevin Thibodeau was supposed to be a high pick. These guys leave Oregon and they're like suddenly like world beaters. I mean, Justin Herbert's a heck of a lot better than I thought he was. Kevin Thibodeau's actually playing like a top pick. It seems like some of these guys get out of Oregon and they're going to be really good.
I mean, I kind of agree too. Like Javon Holland was a top safety, but he wasn't like incredible. But he's been great for the Miami Dolphins, and I think that. I mean, Troy Dye is the only one that makes me sad. He's been the opposite. He's on the Vikings now. He's garbage now, but he was really good in Oregon. But I think the defensive line as a whole for the Giants has come together so well, right? You have Leonard Williams, Dexter Lawrence from Clemson. Now you have Kayvon Thibodeau. They signed Jalen Smith off the street. He's getting playing time and playing pretty solid. Xavier McKinney's been a rock at the safety position. So
I agree. I mean, I think Brian Dable, like sometimes you just find these coaches that are hard-nosed, good coaches. Like they just demand excellence. He's got some Nick Saban in him. Like he's got that mindset of Nick Saban. If you don't do your job, I don't care who you are, you're not going to play. I think that's kind of carried over, and he's done a good job because there's no reason under the sun that the Giants should be 5-1. Like literally no reason the Giants should even have a winning record right now. That being said,
who the Giants play on Thanksgiving?
The Vikings.
Yes, sir.
That's going to be a good one. The Thanksgiving games this year actually look good.
Yeah, let's talk about the Eagles first, though. I know you want to talk about the top 3 teams. We'll save the Vikings for last because obviously I know a little bit more about them. Right. I think the biggest factor for the Eagles, well, there's been 2. Number one is they went from having no cornerbacks to having in the last year and a half or so, they've completely turned their cornerback room around, right? Yeah. And it's through making trades that people kind of were like, oh, that's a little bit of an overpay. But they got Darius Slay, big play Slay. He's been incredible. They got CJ Gardner-Johnson. He's been, I think, playing safety for them, but still, he had 2 interceptions last night.
Well, I think to say, here's my thing. It's so easy to say this person's overpaid. But to me, it's like if the player fits your system well, I don't care if what his track record is. If he fits your system, he's not overpaid. Russell Wilson doesn't fit in Bill Belichick's system. Like that would be a horrible fit. But you put him somewhere else and it's a great fit. I think somebody's not overpaid if they're a good fit in your system, to me. So I think that's the Eagles did a great job building that quarterback room up, finding someone who fits the system they want to run. But at the same time, their offense, look at the numbers from their offense last year compared to this year, and especially Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is top 5 in the MVP race now. I mean,
last game wasn't as good, right? He only had 155 yards.
But it's also a very good defense. They were playing a very good defense.
Yes, that is true. But I think A.J. Brown was one of the biggest acquisitions of the offseason as well. And, they traded a first-round pick for him. But with A.J. Brown, you all of a sudden went from struggling to have receivers for years. They finally said, okay, we're done trying to draft receivers. This hasn't been working. Side note, Devontae Smith has been really good. So that was a home run pick for them. But then they were like, okay, we'll just take one that we know is good, right? In A.J. Brown. So they went from a year and a half ago, having one of the worst receiver rooms in the league, being led by Jalen Reagor, to now having one of the better combos in the league with AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, and then throw in Dallas Goedert. Even Quez Watkins has been solid for him this year. So
I agree. So now the Vikings. Before we get into the biggest game of the day, the Chiefs and the Bills, your Vikings, Tyler. There have been. I mean, I'm not surprised. I think Kevin O'Connell was a home run hire. We saw what he did with Matt Stafford. But, what about the Vikings has made them this good or made them better?
Yeah, so I can tell you a little bit about that. But also I do want to say it's kind of funny because every week it gets progressively more and more. Every time the Vikings win and the Rams lose, it started as a joke, right? The Rams put up a kind of not that many points in their first week, and everyone's like, haha, maybe Kevin O'Connell was the reason their offense was good. But every continual week that they struggle more and more to score, there might be more to that.
Your mother.
Your mother's calling.
I accidentally butt dialed her while ago, so she's calling me back.
So, but the Minnesota Vikings, they have yet to play a complete game. And I think that's a promising thing. And you may say, like, why is that promising, right? We've never pulled together a game where we've looked consistently good on offense and consistently good on defense. But I think it's promising because we haven't done that, and we're 5-1, right? So the fact that while playing not up to the level we could, we're still winning almost every game. Our only loss, I will add, is to the only undefeated team left in the league, the Eagles. That's the only team we've lost to all year.
And on the road.
Yeah, on the road, on Thursday night, too.
No, Saturday, on Monday night.
Was it Monday night?
Yeah, because Kirk Cousins is like lost his last 70 million Monday night games.
Okay. Mayhaps. Oh yeah, I guess it was Monday night. Okay, then yeah. So we have our Thursday night game is Thanksgiving this year, I think, right?
Right.
So, okay, but anyway, point being, we have been up and down, but I think the biggest thing from this year to last year is last year we lost every close game we were in, right?
Yeah.
We had something like 8 or 9 one-possession games, and we lost, or no, we had like 10 or 12 one-possession games, and we lost like 7 of them. This year, we've won every single close game we've been in. The only game we lost, we got stomped. And it's weird too, because Kirk Cousins statistically has been having one of his worst years as a Viking, right? He's not being aggressive with the ball as much. He's throwing more interceptions and less touchdowns than he used to. But Kevin O'Connell is good about playing to personnel strengths. And I think that's something that Mike Zimmer never did. I mean, you see those games where, like, week 1 of the season, Justin Jefferson had 170 yards and 2 touchdowns at halftime. Like, I think that's the biggest thing is we're adapting.
I agree. That was what I was going to say. Mike Zimmer was not an adjustment type guy. He was going to run whatever he wanted to run, no matter what. Kevin O'Connell can, adjust and, run what fits what is currently working best.
And I think this game against the Dolphins is a prime example of the difference in regimes, right? The Dolphins had all 32 minutes to our 28. The Dolphins gained, here, let me find the actual stats, gained 220 more yards than us this game. We only had 156 passing yards and 78 rushing yards. And we only had 11 first downs, including we had 10 3-and-outs of our 15 drives. And we still won 24-16. And that's just we somehow found a way. Yeah, the Dolphins having backup quarterbacks and turning the ball over 3 times helps. But frankly, I don't really care at this point. As long as you keep winning, I don't care how ugly the game is, right? The only thing that matters is the final score. And defense steps up when it needs to, I will say. I have been frustrated by this defense all year. Still wish we would make changes. They take the Mike Zimmer's bend don't break to even greater extreme, where we make every quarterback look good against us because we play 7 to 10 yards off every single play. Yeah. But when they need to, they somehow have been able to step up. As soon as the Dolphins started to drive, we'd create a turnover. And then,
before we talk about the Bills and the Chiefs, I want to throw something out there. Staying in the AFC West.
Okay.
First of all, I feel like the AFC West has the worst, taking Andy Reid away, who's probably the best coach in the NFL right now other than Belichick. AFC West coaches are not good. Nathaniel Hackett has probably been the worst hire in the last 10 years so far. Josh McDaniels has been MIA this year with the Raiders. And then Brandon Staley seems to have so much talent they can't win. Is that an overreaction, or does it seem like the AFC West is just so talented, but the coaching is in their way?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree. And I don't think anyone thought Hackett would be this bad of a hire so quick. And like you said, so far, plenty of time to turn it around, right? But no team should have that many weapons and Russellson and that good of a defense and be 2-3. It just shouldn't happen. And same with the Raiders. They have too many good players. They reunited Derek Carr with a top, 2 receiver in the league that he played college with, already had this, bond. And they're struggling to put up points week in, week out. And they're on bye this week, right? The Raiders were.
Yes.
So hopefully, like for the Raiders' sake, they'll get it together and they'll figure out what's wrong. But I think that they've thoroughly underwhelmed me. I think Josh Jacobs has been the only one that's been consistently good. Contract year Josh Jacobs, and then their defense, like Max Crosby, is incredible. One of the best players in the league. I think he's kind of undershadowed a little bit because he plays on the Raiders and they're not like a big winning team. But and
I agree.
Oh, sorry, I was going to say one last thing with the Chargers is that the big deal the offseason was like, Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack getting together. They've both been good, but they still just, they're 3-2, but they won by 2 points against the Browns with the backup quarterback. They won by 10 points against the Houston Texans. They got blown out by the Jaguars, and they won against the Raiders, who are 1-5. So
I agree. I totally agree. We'll see what I mean. I tweeted prematurely. I still believe it that, like, I think Josh McDaniels, if you're rating NFL coaches, he's like 29 or 30. Like, I just don't see, like, he had nothing in Denver except probably one of the most overrated quarterbacks of overtime with Tim Tebow. I mean, he had nothing in Denver, and he's got weapons in in Las Vegas, and he's not winning. So, we'll see how it is. It's just so strange. You see so many teams that have so much talent, and they're not winning. Like, even the Colts are an example. Like, I feel like the Colts should be better than they are. The Titans, I am a huge Mike Vrabel hater.
But the Colts too have after starting 0-2-1, they're 3-2-1 now. They've scrapping together some wins.
I am a huge Mike Vrabel hater. I don't know why. I just don't get, like, his whole comments on Malik Willis kind of pissed me off and all that. I still think that I don't know why this is for another day, but I don't know why Malik Willis has not developed in what we saw of him. But I think he's a lot better than people think. But anyway, a little biased there. But anyway, the Bills and the Chiefs. It wasn't the game I thought it would be. Like, I thought it would be like 40-39, high scoring. It was a very low scoring game with turnovers. Both quarterbacks kind of had issues holding onto the football. But the Bills got it done finally. Even though it doesn't matter as much as it would in the playoffs, the Bills finally beat the Chiefs. Very likely could have home field advantage for the AFC playoffs now, and hopefully, possibly host the AFC Championship this time. Are the Bills finally the team to beat? Like, finally?
I think that everyone had them going in as the team to beat all year, and I think their loss to the Dolphins and like their close win against the Ravens had people kind of second guess it a little bit. But beating the Chiefs, I mean, they beat a great team, and I think that they've just throughout the year have been the most consistently good team. They play the Packers next week, and as bad as the Packers have been, that's a game I kind of have pegged for an upset. Well, I guess 2 weeks from now they're on bye next week.
Yep.
It's kind of pegged for one of those weird random upsets. I don't know why. I just have a feeling that Green Bay is like bad all year, and they'll string together just enough wins to give their fans hope. But I think that, yes, to answer your question, the Bills are definitely the team to beat in the NFC. The Eagles as well, and that's not a hot take picking the two best records in the league, but both teams have pretty much gone out there and done their job and consistently won pretty handily every single week. The Eagles had one stumble against the Cardinals. They only won by 3, but
I like the fact that we're getting away to a point, and I will probably end up, I see this meme go around on Twitter all the time. Before, a few years ago, when it was Blake Bortles, Case Keenum, Brady, and Nick Foles, something like that, where your quarterbacks in the conference championships. I feel like if that's ever going to happen again, it's going to be this year. I'm not saying Jalen Hurts is way better than all of those except Brady, but I feel like we're getting away from the league of the quarterback to a point, and I'm glad to see that, because it's, in years past, it doesn't matter who you are. If you have a big name quarterback, you might as well just pencil him in the Super Bowl. You can put Tom Brady on the Lions, and he's the favorite. They're the favorite to win the Super Bowl. I'm glad to see we're starting to get away from that to a point. But at the same time, though, like I do think two things. One saying is the defense still wins championships, and I still think if you have that big name quarterback, you're the team to beat. But that's not as prevalent as it used to be. Now the Broncos are, of course, now the Broncos are going to get hot as fire.
Yeah, Russell Wilson's like 9 for 9 throwing the ball after I was giving him crap earlier.
Yeah, didn't see this coming. But the Chargers are just not good.
Yeah. I do want to say too, kind of another quick shout out. Vikings play the Giants on Thanksgiving. Also, we are 4 combined wins away from the 7-1 Bills playing the 7-1 Vikings, which would be an incredible. So the Bills, they need to beat the Packers and the Jets 2 weeks from now. They're on bye this week. The Vikings are also on bye this week. The Vikings are also on bye this week. They need to beat the Cardinals and then the Commanders, who are not going to have Carson Wentz for the game. So there's a very real possibility November 13th you have the 7-1 Vikings at the 7-1 Bills.
That's going to be a fun day in the group chat when the Vikings play the Commanders.
Yeah, when we lose by 50, it's going to be real fun.
Yeah, no, when the Commanders lose, that's going to be a really fun day for me in the group chat. But anyway.
Yeah, you can hop on the purple people eater bandwagon 2 weeks from now.
At this point, after Bama hurt me so much on Saturday, I'm glad I don't have a real NFL team. I don't think my heart could handle that 2 days in a row.
Fair enough.
Anyway, that's about all I've got. So we'll be back Wednesday to sadly talk about the Bama Tennessee game that was not very fun.
But hey, we'll see them again. All our players are saying it too. They kept saying in every press conference, we'll see them again. So
yeah,
unless Tennessee chokes against Georgia, then we won't see them again.
Yeah, I want to see them again. I want revenge.
I do. I want, and I have like this gut feeling, and I could look like an idiot, right? Quote me on this. Like keep this in your mind. But I have a feeling if we rematch, we win by like 20 plus points. I really do.
I'll ask you this on Wednesday night, but I'm just gonna ask now just because I want to know your opinion right now.
Okay.
Bama wins out, Tennessee wins out. We beat Tennessee in the SEC championship by 20, like you say. Does Tennessee deserve this playoff spot? I think yes.
I think they'll be 4, probably.
I think if you go undefeated and beat the defending champion and the SEC champion from last year, you deserve a spot. If you go undefeated and only have 1 loss.
I think that so this is also some conjecture based on like teams winning and losing. I think the final rankings will be something along the lines of Ohio State will be 1 if they beat Michigan, which I assume they're probably going to beat Michigan. So I have Ohio State at 1 at the end of the year. Alabama beats Tennessee in the SEC championship, goes up to 2. I think 3 is kind of a wild card. I think Clemson probably sneaks in at 3 because I don't see them losing. And I don't know how you could push them down because Michigan would have to drop after losing. And then I think that Tennessee, who loses in the SEC championship game, comes in at 4.
It's going to be fun going to Glendale to watch Alabama play Clemson.
Yeah.
Can't wait to hear what Joe has to say. Joe's playoff would be like Ohio State, Penn State.
Yeah, Michigan, Alabama. Sorry, Alabama 1 because it was a good loss. It was a good close loss. Penn State 2 because Penn State, they might have lost to Michigan, but they showed a lot of heart. 3 is Oregon because Oregon, they've been fighting all year. They deserve it. And 4 is I don't know, Cincinnati because they were cool last year.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear Joe's playoff 4 on Wednesday, whenever we're back. Definitely won't be on Saturday. I'll be drinking to get through the game Saturday night. Anyway, that's all I've got. We'll see y'all Wednesday. Tyler, you got anything else?
No, that's all from me.
All right, we'll see y'all Wednesday.
Yep, see you.